Grace and peace and spoiler alert for Cobra Kai once again, season 2 this time. I went ahead and watched the second season of Cobra Kai, and since I did the first, I thought I'd go ahead and talk about the second season. I don't normally do TV series, but I'm doing a TV series. What can I tell you? The second season builds upon the first, and it's hard because, like, the way that I interpreted and symbolicized the first affects my experience of the second, which already, like, that's a concept, right? Like, in what ways do our expectations of a text and do our previous interpretations of previous texts affect new texts? For instance, if we liked Genesis and Exodus and we want Leviticus to be more of the same, how will that color our reading of Leviticus? And often not positively. Yet, I really liked the kind of moral ambiguity that Cobra Kai found in the Karate Kid story in season 1. And they introduced Kreese in this one, which was a good, like, curtain from season 1, but it ended up reducing some of that moral ambiguity in a way that I haven't yet enjoyed. We'll see what happens to the universe down the line, but it gave Johnny someone to be more ruthless and more Cobra Kai-ish than him, and so that in turn took away some of the, like, the schlockiness and goofiness from Daniel, the unrealisticness, and made him into more of an angelic figure again, with Kreese as the demonic, and then we are with Johnny on Earth. So I see why they did it. Like they're building up their protagonist, Billy Zabka. They want kind of their lead to be even more relatable, not just a part of a ambiguous rivalry where both sides are relatable, especially since one side of this ambiguous rivalry has had previous advantage, and that's not the side we're focusing on. Yet I just thought it was really unique and special that Cobra Kai season 1 had been shaped that way, and I was ready for more of it. So I don't know. They made a move. They did something with that, and by giving Johnny a villain to his more ruthlessness, and that's kind of the spectrum. It's like ruthless versus Miyagi-ish that Cobra Kai deals with. So that's interesting, and it's also interesting to look at, heaven versus hell versus earth, and ask the question, where do you want to be? It reminds me of the Huckleberry Finn question. Where is Tom Sawyer going? Because I kind of want to be with Tom Sawyer. Like, I like Tom Sawyer. So where does Johnny sit in all this? And how much do we prefer the real world to the world of moral superiority and of perfection? There's something there. I think there was more in the last thing. Another thing that shows up in season 2, which maybe has a little bit more teeth to it, is they spend more time with the Creed. So in Karate Kid, it's kind of a throwaway, right? Like, the jerseys have the Cobra Kai logo, which looks ridiculously, like, almost Nazi-ish, right? They've got the snake, and it says, "Strike first, strike hard, no mercy." And in the first season, they acknowledge strike first and strike hard, and they don't get to no mercy, because how are you going to redeem that, right? Like what are you going to say about no mercy that's going to make that even kind of okay? Strike first, yeah, like, especially in the context of, like, romance, take the initiative, okay. Strike hard, like, work hard, okay. No mercy? Really, no mercy. And so there's a question to be asked about, how do we interpret text? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy is a very, very short text, and so it serves as a good a good litmus test, a good example of, well, here are various ways in which it can be interpreted. And we see in season 2 how the text is interpreted by Kreese and how the text is interpreted by Johnny. And they're different. And it gives us an opportunity to pick one. And I think it gives a strong case for interpreting texts non-literally, right? I think that Johnny's interpretation of strike first and strike hard works better, has more application, has more import, right? As like a way of doing life. I'm going to do life as a initiative taker and a hard worker, a hard goer, than Kreese's interpretation, which is like, no, literally, I want you to hurt people a lot. And then with No Mercy, there's this moment of flexibility where Johnny says, life shows no mercy. There's this reality of like, hey, listen, you need to show no mercy. You need to go with all you've got. But also there's this, sometimes I show mercy, right? Like no mercy means no mercy in the dojo, no mercy in the context where there shouldn't be any no mercy. But I don't mean that like absolutely. I don't mean that in every context. Let's have some context here. I sometimes show mercy. I sometimes show no mercy. So yes to no mercy when no mercy is appropriate. That's kind of brilliant, right? Like I'm not saying do that to the Bible, but think about doing that to the Bible. One of my New Testament professors made that statement about the Bible explicitly. Said, I find that in order to believe the New Testament and in order to really internalize and follow what the New Testament says about love and about truth and about God, in order to follow those things and integrate those things, I am forced to disbelieve some of the individual sentences in the New Testament. In order to take the greater, I have to abandon the lesser. Well, if that were true, I think that would be a good way to handle it. Personally, I still see lots of room to do more interpretation, to ask the question, what does it mean and how is it best read? How do we put the text in its best light and examine it, and which way to read the text will bless my life the most versus which way to read the text will result in me breaking my back and winding up in the hospital. The implication at the end of the series is that showing too much mercy is what makes you weak, and perhaps what makes you sacrificial. I don't think it's any surprise that he fell in a Christ-like pose. But ought you be sacrificial? What's the right time to take the fall? I hope season 3 tells us.
And when in scenes of glory I sing